Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
It is the Savage Nation Monday edition. I don't have any news you haven't read yet, so goodbye. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Talk radio is not about the news. The news is a news show. The news is a flashing lights and telling you there's breaking news when there isn't. The news are hypnotic events. I have nothing like that to offer you. A talk show is about conversation. So we're going to have conversations today about a number of topics, including my contention that the left has brought us to an uncivil rights movement. That's right. They've initiated an uncivil rights movement. Whether it's Dianne Feinstein hiding a letter about Dr. Fraud until the last minute in order to shaft Kavanaugh, or Maxine the Mad Woman, what's her name, Maxine Mad Hatters Waters, screaming at people, telling them to go chase you out of a gas station or out of a restaurant. Now, she's a lawmaker, not a lawbreaker. She's a lawgiver, yet she's telling people to break the law. Why is she not thrown out of Congress? Why? Because there is no Congress. There's no Congress anymore. Old Jewish man beat up in the streets of Brooklyn by a Muslim man, beats him. 68-year-old Jewish man on the way to synagogue. 37-year-old Muslim livery driver. They get into some yelling match over a crosswalk. The Muslim gets out and beats the guy up in the street. He's charged with a hate crime, and then de Blasio's DA drops the hate crime charge. Are you listening to this? It looked like, if you watch the video, it looks like something out of Nazi Germany going on in socialist New York. But you don't want to talk about that. Now, Diamond and Silk will be on the show in the next hour. Stop Mass Hysteria is in stores now, and today is the last day you can buy it to put that book on the list of New York Times bestsellers. You see, it runs from Tuesday to Monday. It came out last Tuesday, so today being Monday, any book you buy today will count toward that list. If you're planning on buying it, I suggest you buy it today. But we'll talk about the low-life rapper who disrespected President Trump in the Oval Office. I'm not letting it go. I know it was very unpopular when I mentioned it last week, but I was the only one who saw reality as it was, and the only one who had the nerve to say it who was a Trump supporter, because he was misadvised as far as I am concerned. Now, I realize this concludes any friendship I might have had with the inner circle. There goes, well, Thanksgiving went months ago. Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago went months ago. Christmas was long gone. There goes Hanukkah, New Year's Eve, egg rolls, Easter bunny, all gone probably till 2019 now, if I'm ever let back into the good graces of the president. But I'm not here for the president. I'm not like Rush Limbaugh, who spends 3 hours a day like a mouthpiece for the Trump administration. And if I don't say that, what do you want me to do here? Be another one of those morons who sit here all day long? They didn't support Trump for a year straight. They put you down. For a year straight, Limbaugh called you Trumpers, trumpeteers, trumpettes. He laughed at you because he didn't know which way the wind blew. And then when Trump won, he doesn't stop it. And that's not talk radio. That's nothing. That's a public relations machine for an administration, which is a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? I'm not on the radio to be a public relations machine for a political office. If I am, I'm going to quit. If that's what you want me to be, you may as well turn somewhere else. You've got the nail gun. You got the wall banger. Whatever he is, God bless him. Let him be well. Let him live in good health. I don't really care what the other man's ratings are. I don't care, but I know what I have to do to go to sleep at night and not say I'm a complete fraud and a whore. Do they even know what the word fraud and whore means? These people who put Trump down for a year straight and now lick his boots day and night, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Now, I'm going to say it again about the rapper in there. It was the lowest point in the history of the Oval Office to bring in this low-life rapper, West of any, I don't know his first name. He slouched in a chair facing the president. He called himself a crazy MF in the Oval Office. He used the F word. He called the 72-year-old president bro. The rapper had no respect for the Oval Office. He wore no tie. He wore a stupid baseball hat on throughout. Is this the kind of behavior you want in the Oval Office? Huh? Would you have expected me when I went in there to start dropping F-bombs at the president? Why is it no conservatives have said that this is unacceptable by that low-life rapper? I am the only voice that has had the nerve to point out that behavior like this should not be accepted in the Oval Office. That is a sacred office. Even Obama didn't permit that kind of behavior to be shown publicly. Why are we turning this nation over to whatever pop culture demands? There needs to be decorum brought back to our nation's capital. Remember where it starts. It starts there. Not only in the White House, but in the Capitol building, too. There is no civility left in our leadership nor in the Capitol building with that gaggle of reporters on the ground with dirty clothing. I'd make them wear suits and ties, and I'd limit it to a few press pools, and that's it, a few in the press pool, sitting there underneath the hearings, the clicking and the lights. It's a disgrace. The whole thing is a mess. I want to talk about nothing related to the low-life rapper in the White House, although it's a symbol of the decline of our civilization, by the way. I want to talk about something else. I'm a student of history, as you know, and I am a student of warfare, revolution. I want to tell you something. I saw last week or 2 weeks ago that 1/3 of American youth would be unqualified to serve in the military because they're fat slobs. 1/3 of American youth are fat blobs of garbage. Sugar, salt, dairy, just useless piles of DNA, useful only for social media. So 1/3 of the youth couldn't serve in the military. So I look back on how many died in the last weeks of World War II, and I look at how the people lived through it. I don't understand how this country could live through anything like this. And I'm focusing instead on one part of World War II when tens of thousands died in flames. When the Allies bombed Dresden, Germany, it burned for 7 days and 7 nights. 15 square kilometers of the city was reduced to rubble. Bodies were carried away from the center of Dresden, Germany, days after the bombing. How many died? 25,000 to 40,000 civilians. Now, why am I telling you this? You'll figure it out soon. Okay? How many died in the firebombing of Germany? Do you know the answer? How many died amongst the Russians to take Berlin in the last weeks of the war? Do you know how many? I'll tell you how many as the show goes on. Hamburg, 40,000 died in 1 month in 1943. You hear the number? 40,000. Here, if you break a hangnail, you call a shyster lawyer, and he sues the company that you slipped on the floor. Go break a hangnail in a department store, and then get a shyster lawyer to sue. 40,000 burned to death in Hamburg. 25,000 to 40,000 killed in Dresden. Berlin, 22,000, 1 month. Pforzheim, 17,000 killed in 1945, 1 month. Darmstadt, Germany, 11,000 killed in 1 month in 1944. Cities reduced to ashes. But how many Russians died in the last weeks of the war to take Berlin when they buried the Third Reich? Do you know how many died? You have any idea how many Russians were shot in the back by their own officers if they didn't go? Did you know that? Here in the military, if you have, let's say, depression or bipolar, or you don't feel good that day, or you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you get a pass. There you get shot in the back at that time by the Soviet military. Do you know how many Soviet tanks were lost in the streets of Berlin? 800 tanks were blown up just taking Berlin in the last weeks of the war. Because the idiot, maniac, crazed drug addict Adolf Hitler refused to let his troops, even though the war was lost, he refused to let his troops give up and save themselves and, of course, save Berlin from total destruction. This is what happens when you have fanaticism. The battle for Berlin took 22,000 civilian lives. In the street battles, 22,000. But how many died amongst the Russians? And why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this to show you the scope of human tragedy and how we in this country are so deluded into thinking that every one of our complaints and cranks and this and that is something important. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's an embarrassment to the human condition. And we're so soft, I don't know how this country could survive much longer. We have become so soft. I don't know how the nation can go on. But I'm increasingly pessimistic about the survival of America, incidentally. That's really what I'm getting at. You may think I'm supposed to sit here and give you a charm job. It's a wonderful world. Everything's great. Everything's coming up roses. You take away welfare from the 55% of the American people who don't work. You take away the food stamps from the lazy bums who don't work. You cut off the SSDI from the fake crazy people. You take back all of, you know how many people are on disability, federal disability payments? Do you know how many people are on federal disability payments? It went up under Trump, not down, because they're not cracking down on the fake disability. I think it was 12 or 14 million people are faking it. 12 to 14 million people declare they're unable to work. You hear this? And you're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for all of this. The country is so soft that all they want is more free things. You understand that? So then you got demagogues on the left say, we'll give you anything free that you want. And all of the losers of the world say, yeah, we want the free stuff. We'll vote for them. But where's the money supposed to come from? Where? From me. From the people who work. That's where it comes from. So what happens is when they tax us to death and becomes too high, what do you think happens? You think that there's unlimited money? We stop working. We just stop working, and that's the end of it. And then what's going to happen? What are you going to do, eat dirt? So this is how it works. Unless you see the whole picture, then you actually believe that Elizabeth Warren is an Indian chief. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be back.
Savage.
Okay, so the uncivil rights movement is running wild in the streets of America. Over the weekend, the Antifa communist fascists were out of control. The mayor condoned it. And look, I made myself very clear on this, both on the radio and in Stop Mass Hysteria. They are a domestic terrorist group. They're not First Amendment. They're not exercising the First Amendment. They're exercising terror, not the First Amendment. And the DHS exists for this reason. And I'm not the president. If I were the president, I would absolutely crack down on them. I would arrest their leadership. I would then have the IRS pull the 501c3 status of all these organizations through their front groups. That is, all of the nonprofits that George Soros and others fund. And that would tend to take the wind out of their sails. But I'm only a talk show host, and I have no power. San Francisco to vote on taxing rich businesses to help bums in the street. Hillary Clinton, here's an eye-opener for all of you who think Hillary's crazy to say this. Hillary Clinton says Bill Clinton didn't abuse his power by having sex with Monica Lewinsky in the White House because she was an adult. Okay. That's like a hashtag movement of some kind, like hashtag I lied too. Let's see what you might be interested in. Sex doll rental firm offers widows replicas of their dead partners to help comfort them. Okay, so the man dies, and they make a sex doll out of a dead husband? What, when he was 80? Or do you make the sex doll out of him when he was 30? I don't quite follow that story. Sex doll rental firm offers widows replicas of their dead partners. So they have to make it while the guy's alive, don't you? To be a replica of him? But what, at 80, you want a replica of your dead 80-year-old husband? Oh, come on. What else is in the news that you might be interested in? San Francisco to vote on taxing rich businesses to help homeless. Oh, okay, let's take some callers here. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have any idea? I know it's not the norm, but we're living through a time of total madness because there's no history. It's like a mass, I call it mass hysteria, but there's mass amnesia, actually. The country's involved in a mass amnesia. They have no idea of their own history, let alone the history of human suffering, the history of the world, the history of survival, nothing, zero. So then we have Bernie Sanders, the most dangerous man in American history, who's mobilizing the idiotic youth to riot in the streets. And then you got the CBS debate with Trump, predictable. I'm supposed to sit here and Trump got the best of her. I didn't watch it, so I can't say that. I do know that he missed one particular point that he should have given when she brought up the global warming issue. And he said something because he didn't have the facts. He should have had me as an expert there because I've tried to give him books and apparently he hasn't read them yet because I'm not on Fox News. He apparently only reads and listens to things from people on Fox News. So they're debating the global warming thing. And he says, well, I don't know. It's not caused by man and blah, blah, blah. And millions of years ago, he didn't know his facts very well. This was embarrassing because he could have nailed it to a cross when she said to me, but what about the scientists say there is global warming caused by man? If he had only listened to me and read Government Zero, which I gave him in person, and Trump's War, which I gave him in person, and I sent copies of Stop Mass Hysteria, which went to the dead letter box, because only those on Fox News get to the inner circle now, he would have read about the Vostok ice core samples, and he would have had the information to trap Leslie Stahl with logic and with science. But you can't just keep BSing people and windbagging them because it's not selling. Oh, sure, it sells to the MAGA people and the hat folk, but does it sell to the great, massive middle ground that we need in order to hold on to Congress? That's who we need to be talking to, the educated people who say, undecided, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. That's the audience that I represent. That's the audience I talk to. So if you research the Vostok ice core samples in 30 seconds or less, what do they show? Now, those of you who read Government Zero know the answer. The answer is very simple. A team of five nations, scientists from 5 nations, you went to sleep already, I know. They drilled down 5 miles into the coldest place on Earth, in Vostok, in the Antarctic. Coldest place on Earth. They drilled down 5 miles into the ice core. Why? They pulled up the sample from 5 miles below the Earth, the ice. And then they analyzed that ice core sample. And what did they find? They found that the Earth was warmer millennia ago, and there was more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere millennia ago. That tends to disprove the entire theory that man is destroying the Earth through global warming. Now, having said that, I've worked all of my adult life to make this a cleaner Earth, cleaner land, cleaner water, cleaner air. But it doesn't mean I have to use hysteria in order to talk about environmental cleanup. Let's use facts, not hysteria. Read about the Vostok ice core samples, would you please?
Savage.
Sitting here watching the world go round, you know, it's like a veal parmesan Monday to me. I don't eat the parmesan. When I get eggplant parmesan, I say keep the parm and the Jean. Just give me the plate. No, I get eggplant with no parm on it, no Jean on it. And today's like a great Monday. I mean, what I'm going to do, get excited over the stupidity in the world? How much can I take of this? If Trump had only understood that he needs a scientist who's also a communications expert around him, he would have done much better with Leslie Stahl. He could have devastated her with one torpedo, one line. He could have said, well, Leslie, if you only understood the Vostok ice core samples, she would have fallen back out of her swivel chair. Because then she would have said, well, what does that mean? When she says, oh, what'd she say to him? What about all the scientists who support global warming? He should have said, well, they don't know. They should know about the Vostok ice core samples. But he doesn't want to listen to me because he's surrounded now by people from Fox News who are very loyal only to Fox News hosts. God bless them all. They don't know everything. There are people who know more on certain issues than anyone knows. They're called experts. Not everyone could be an expert in all things. You understand that? So if he had said, Leslie, the Vostok ice core samples are what I'm referring to. What are they? It's research. It's real data. It's not created by Al Gore. It was obtained by drilling down into the ice above Lake Vostok in Antarctica, I lost you already, to a depth of 10,000 feet. Those of you who follow rap music already fell asleep. You don't know what 10,000 feet means. And you see French and Russian scientists obtained deep core samples, which allowed them to look at, among other things, the history of temperature and carbon dioxide over the past 420,000 years. I realize I just lost 99.9% of the audience on that. That was too many words, too many syllables, too many facts. So they drilled down all this depth into the ice. And what did the sample show, President Trump? It showed a lot of things that Leslie Stahl would have been stumped by. And the main thing it showed that levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere did not cause warming. Did not cause warming. The increases in carbon dioxide consistently lagged behind temperature increases by about 800 years. Leslie Stahl would have fallen out of a chair. But wait, that's not all. This could have finished her off. Vostok ice core samples tell us more. 325,000 years ago, long before there was rap music, 325,000 years ago, long before Twitter came along, global temperatures and CO2 levels were higher than they are today. I guess Barack Obama didn't get any of this when he was at Columbia University learning how to become a community agitator. So what I'm saying to you is, of course, I want a cleaner, pure earth, more so than you might imagine. And I've been working in conservation movements since I'm a youngster. That doesn't mean we have to have hysteria in order to make our point. And it's embarrassing to me that the administration refuses to permit my wisdom to get anywhere near the president. It really gets me angry, actually, because he's losing great opportunity. And so when he was interviewed by 60 Minutes, and she said, what about the scientists who say global warming is this and that? He could have devastated her with one word, Vostok ice core samples. And a few more lines, she would have been finished. And it would have made him look so smart, because he is so smart. But you can't just wing everything that you talk about. You can't just shine it on to everybody like everyone's a stupid moron and no one's really listening to you and then go on to the next point. If you want to make points with the public, and I mean the educated public, try to use some educated statements is what I'm saying. In order to use educated statements, you need educated people around you, not people who dropped out of high school and got very rich bamboozling the public because they once were good looking before they started to look like Lou Abbott. So that's all I want to say about that subject, Vostok ice core samples. Now, over the weekend, on Friday night, after doing a busy radio show, I raced to a studio in San Francisco and was on the Governor Huckabee show. I love Governor Huckabee. You know why? A, because he has me on his show and he likes me. I'm telling you the truth. The man actually respects me to death. You could see it in his presentation how much he loves me. He's a true Christian. His audience is very devout. He was on Fox News. He's still a contributor, great guy. And he likes me. Whenever I have a new book came out, God, Faith, and Reason, and now the new one, the Hysteria book. I want you to listen to the questions he asked me to see a man of thought on the savage nation.
Governor, I'm sorry I'm wearing the glasses, but given that we're living in volatile times, I had to go underground here in San Francisco. A man can't even enjoy a meal now without a bunch of bums running into the restaurant. So forgive the glasses, Governor.
You know, if anybody probably actually needed to wear them in San Francisco, no doubt, Michael, it would be you. I mean, Maxine Waters, who is from your state, is calling for people to be hunted down in places like restaurants.
Crazy woman. Crazy woman. How does she get away with it being a congresswoman who's supposed to be a law giver, a lawmaker, telling people to run after the political opposition and chase them out of... If you see them in a filling station, if you see them in a restaurant, you chase them. You make them known they're not wanted. Now, that is the opposite of Martin Luther King Jr.'s message. This is the uncivil rights movement.
Now, I want to talk about your book because it is so timely.
Right.
It is almost like a perfect description of what's happening in America. And the subtitle may be the key. America's insanity from the Salem witch trials to the Trump witch hunt. Let's talk about the Salem witch trials. How does that correlate to what's happening today?
Well, the Salem witch trials are usually misunderstood. It's when a group of young girls became hysterical and started accusing women of being witches and men of being witches, things like that, you know. And it wound up, people were killed as a result of it. It was false accusations. Now we come to the Trump witch hunt. First they started with Russia collusion. Then Mueller dropped that because there was nothing there. Then he switched to something else. Then we moved on to the Kavanaugh hearings where we saw a decent Christian man. I'm sorry to use the phrase. He was crucified by the left. And now the rest is history. He's a Supreme Court justice. But Governor, they've done that to an awful lot of people and driven them out of the media, driven them out of universities, driven them out of corporations. And that is what I mean by a witch hunt. Unfounded hysteria based upon lies or hearsay with no evidence. The opposite of American jurisprudence.
Do you think that many of the people behind the hysteria, do they actually believe what they're saying, or is it just a rhetorical tool because they lost an election, they're out of power, and they're using this just to create disruption without really a goal in mind?
You know, there are always rules to the game. You didn't go outside the field. And when you're on the field, you didn't kick the other man in the groin. Or when he was walking away from you, hit him in the back of the head with a stick. Those rules are all changed by the Democrats who persecuted Kavanaugh, hitting him in the back of the head. Dianne Feinstein, instead of releasing this letter from Dr. Fraud, I call her, Instead of releasing it during the hearing, she waits till the 11th hour to say, oops, look what I found, and causes the whole hearing to be held up, and now an FBI investigation. But there's another case, Governor. You may recall the Dreyfus affair, France. Jewish officer in the French military. Never did anything wrong. French anti-Semites planted papers in his desk and said he was a spy working with Germany. Completely fake. He was found guilty. Dreyfus was sent to Devil's Island. You may remember the movie with Dustin Hoffman, Escape from Devil's Island or something like that. Well, it turns out the whole thing was fake based upon planted evidence. And it took 100 years to exonerate Captain Dreyfus. Look what they just did to Kavanaugh. It's very similar to what they did to Dreyfus. I don't trust this Dr. Freud or Ford, whatever her name is. Do you know, as you probably know, that they're going to try to impeach him now if they take back the House? Can you believe this? Is there anyone viewing Governor Huckabee's program right now who does not want the hysteria in our streets to stop? Is there anyone listening to this show who thinks it's a good idea to chase people down the street, to beat people up in the street? What kind of world are we living in? This is not a society that is civil. It is an uncivil society, and Hillary Clinton had the nerve the other day to say, we don't want a civil society right now. She said, we can't have a civil society until we, the Democrats, take power again. I'm sorry, this is crazy. It's all wrong. This is an example of the hysteria that must be exposed in order for it to be stopped, Governor. And this is the message I'm trying to get across. It's through education, learning, and history that we may save this country.
Well, I think you've certainly documented things very powerfully in the book, and I hope people will get a copy and read it. Michael Savage's new book is an important warning. It's called Stop Mass Hysteria. It's available at booksellers now. Be sure to visit michaelsavage.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Savage Nation.
Savage.
Every one of us has had an old car, used car, run out of the warranty. You take it in for an oil change, you get hit with thousands of dollars in a repair bill. Well, what are you going to do about it? Well, what you should have done and what you should do is get extended vehicle protection from CarShield. Look, if your car breaks down after the manufacturer's warranty expires, it could cost you thousands to get it fixed. An engine? What does an engine cost today? What, $10,000? $5,000? A sensor, $1,000? CarShield makes the process of fixing your car for a covered repair super easy. You can have your favorite mechanic do it or the dealership. They also give you 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed absolutely free. If your car has 5,000 to 150,000 miles, it does not mean you have to pay high repair bills. CarShield administrators have paid out close to $2 billion in claims, and they're ready to help you. So listen, save yourself thousands in future car repairs. Get covered by the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. Call 800-CAR-6100, 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 code SAVAGE. Or visit carshield.com, code SAVAGE, and you'll save 10%. That's carshield.com, code SAVAGE, or call 800-CAR-6100, code SAVAGE. A deductible may apply. 800-CAR-6100. That's a great program for you with older cars. So let's go to the callers. You know, I was researching something bizarre. Do a person's hair and fingernails continue to grow after death? They say, what the hell, is he crazy now? Well, I think about a lot of things, pre-birth, after death. And we've always seen the mythology about nails seem to be growing after death. I'm going to give you the science on that in a few minutes. And the optical illusion that is responsible for the idea that hair and fingernails grow after death is something that you need to know about. It's the same as the optical illusion about global warming being caused by mankind. And unless you know the science and don't listen to the fake scientists, you're not going to know the truth. And as I say, I've probably done more for cleaning up the environment and saving the environment than most of the gangsters in the global warming business, because I've never received a nickel from oil companies or from the global warming gangster business. Sheldon on WABC, go ahead, please make your point.
Hi, Michael. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, please, what's your point?
My point I wanted to make, Michael, is this. Okay, you talk about global warming. I agree with you. But I think another issue that has to be has to be addressed is the concept of global climate change, and that is a different issue. Okay, you can.
Well, that's just shifting the rhetoric about the same scam.
Not really, Michael. Let me try to.
No, well, wait, Sheldon. Hold on now. Did you hear anything I said about the Vostok ice core samples?
I did.
All right, so you're a reasonable man. How can you deny what was discovered by this science?
I'm not. I'm agreeing with you. Okay, but let me make my point and see what you feel about.
All right, fine. Now I'm listening. Now you got my attention.
Okay, let's say there's 5 hot spots in the world, and that produces all the let's say heat that's in the world. Okay, and those 5 hot spots get rearranged and are in different positions around the world. Although the heat has not increased, the 5 hot spots have moved. And weather, since it's dependent upon the movement of heat from hot to cold, okay, if those 5 hot spots move, we will not exhibit global warming, but we may exhibit global climate change. My point is, Michael, that I feel with all the tsunamis and the extreme hurricanes that we see lately, and mine is not a political phone call, by the way.
Well, wait. Hold it. You want to talk about hurricane strength? You do know that one in 1926 was stronger than the last one.
But I'm making a point, Michael.
Well, you want to talk facts and statistics here. 1926, the hurricane's winds were stronger than the one that just hit.
I know, Michael, but do you feel that there are more hurricanes now?
No, there are no more hurricanes now. No, that's another mythology. But look, you and I may agree on one thing, Sheldon, is we all want a cleaner earth, and I've worked for that most of my adult life. But I'm not going to base it upon false science. Is my whole point.
No, I'm not talking about. We're talking.
All right, I think we've exhausted this. I mean, we're saying two different things. Maybe we all want the same thing. But 325,000 years ago, global temperatures and CO2 levels were higher than they are today. Period. End of story, Leslie Stahl. Those are the Vostok ice core samples. Trump could have stumped her with that one line, but he didn't, because I'm banned from the Trump administration by the new administration's communications director who came from Fox News. He blocked me at Fox News, and now he's blocking me from the White House. To their deficit, not mine. I'll go on, and they'll go on, and I wish them the best, and I'll support them all, meaning this administration. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're not doing themselves a favor by omitting the education that I have from their discussions. It's that simple. And now let's move on to other topics. Do fingernails and hair really grow after death? Remember I said that? It's an optical illusion. What did I mean by that? Because after we die, flesh shrinks as it becomes dehydrated. I know it's a disgusting topic. And so the skin retracts and the nails and hair appear longer, but they're not actually growing. So it's a matter of understanding the optical illusion of death to understand why hair and nails look like they're growing. And it's the same with global warming or climate change, which is a new name for the same thing. Is it warmer or is it not warmer? Well, I'm sorry to tell you it's actually not warmer. Does that mean I like pollution? Absolutely not. I think it's great to eliminate as many pollutants as we can. I'm super sensitive to any airborne particles. I won't be in a room with someone with cologne on. You put me in a room with a Middle Eastern car salesman, I have to go almost to an emergency room. If they shake my hand, I have to almost have my hand removed from my body. I can't get the scent off my palm for like weeks after that. No, I don't like pollution of any kind. But mostly I hate stupidity. It's the worst kind of pollution there is.
Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Hi, ladies. Are you lonesome tonight? Don't you all wish you're with me in my warm room with Teddy sitting beneath my desk? First of all, Teddy's not here and the room is cold. So, look, I'm not going to review what we've done in the last hour. I was reading Sun Tzu again over the weekend, The Art of War. And he wrote some, strategies for defeating an enemy, and one of them is making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. And those words resonated with me all weekend. Conquering an enemy that is already defeated. So Obama flooded America with illegal aliens for 8 straight years. He flooded us with Iranians, many of whom are operatives of the enemy. Hezbollah has operatives in America. 1/3 of our military-aged men are too fat to even fight. The rest are drug addicts or addicted to something else on the internet and wouldn't know how to fire a gun without shooting themselves in the foot. So you read Sun Tzu and you realize that the enemy's been working around the clock to destroy us. And with little help from their friends in the media, I wonder if we could still win a war. It means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. Hence, the skillful fighter puts himself into a position which makes defeat impossible and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. When will that moment come? We can have all of the most powerful hydrogen bombs on Earth, but if we lack the leadership necessary to use our weapons because we've been intimidated by the Elizabeth Warrens of the world, then all those weapons mean nothing. You understand how that works? So over the weekend, a Muslim livery driver jumped out of his car, he was 37 years old, and mercilessly beat a religious Jewish man in the street. A 67-year-old religious man was beaten to the ground. It was originally charged as a hate crime, and then de Blasio's DA jumped in and dropped the hate crime charges. So the last I checked, is there anyone from the religious Jewish community in Brooklyn, New York, where this occurred, who can update the audience right now as to whether or not that livery driver was charged with a hate crime? Because to me, first of all, the guy had 8 prior arrests. Do you know that? I know that's not supposed to count, but it does count. 8 prior arrests. He beats up an old Jewish guy in the street. It looked like World War II black and whites of Nazi-era Munich. And I'm supposed to sit here and make believe it's just a random occurrence? It wasn't a random occurrence. If you're bringing in people who hate a certain ethnic group that is already here, what do you think is going to happen in this country? They're going to bring their hatred with them. That's what I mean by defeating an enemy before you even fire a shot. So this is what's going on in the country, but I'm not getting any religious Jews calling. They don't listen to the show. They don't believe in treif like this. It's not smart enough for them. Instead, they stick their nose in the Torah and the Talmud day and night, and they wonder why they're shoveled into oblivion every few generations. I'm sorry, I'm an old school kind of guy. I believe that religious study is the most wonderful thing on earth, but it has to be combined with survival study. And one thing I admire the most are the stories of the old Chinese monks thousands of years ago who were being attacked by bandits. And as a result, these peace-loving Buddhist monks learned martial arts. They actually developed martial arts. They were all developed by monks who were trying to lead peaceful lives, but they were being assailed by bandits. So they learned how to use what was at hand. They learned how to use a rake or a hoe, and that led to stick fighting. So they combined their religious leanings with survival. This is sadly missing in the Western Jewish communities. Very sadly missing. It's not good enough to just study religious tracts. No, you have to combine it with survival, or else you're going to repeat history again in the most negative way. I've been trying to say this for 40 years, but no one listens to me. It falls on deaf ears. You know, years ago, I was very, very interested in the Jewish, the Chabad movement, the Jewish people. And I started to hang around with them because I felt they had their finger on the ancient teachings. And then I saw they were eating garbage, poison, just garbage. Fat, salt, sugar, the worst food I ever saw in my life, and most of them were sickly, out of shape, this and that. So I wrote an article, Is Kosher Junk Food Yiddishkeit? Now, I don't know if you're Jewish. You have to be Jewish to understand that. It was a widely ignored article. Is kosher junk food Yiddishkeit? Meaning, it's kind of ironic what I said. Meaning, you're eating a food because they stamp a kosher symbol on it. It's good for you because of just a stamp? While you're eating garbage full of sugar and you don't know why you have diabetes? You sit on your behind all day and you wonder why you're getting sick? I tried to enlighten people and it went nowhere. You hear? And you went nowhere. A lot of people, don't want wisdom. It doesn't matter whether it's the President of the United States or a religious organization. They only want to hear what they want to hear from people they want to hear it from. And so what does an independent scholar like myself do? What I do is I keep on trucking along, as they used to say. I keep on going along, that's all. I keep on doing my thing until the clock runs out. And when the alarm clock goes off, it'll be goodbye, that's all. I'm not going to change my ways. I can't. This is what it is. You know, is kosher junk food Yiddishkeit? Great article. You don't even know what I'm talking about. And number two, Trump should have said to Leslie Stahl, Vostok Ice Core samples, she would have been stumped. That would have been the end of the argument. But no, because of the Fox News takeover of the White House, only current or former Fox News individuals need apply. They're all wonderful people in their own way, but they don't have my vast knowledge. They don't. It's as simple as that. They just don't. What do you want me to do? Throw my knowledge in the garbage? My education, my learning, my experience? I should throw it in the garbage and sound like everyone else? I'm not going to do that. First of all, I can't do it. Secondly, I wouldn't do it. That's all. 855-407-282 is the phone number. What are we talking about now? Anything you want to talk about? Okay, let's take some callers. KLIF, Dallas, Texas. Line 1. Go ahead, please.
Are you talking to me?
I hope so. Otherwise, we're both crazy.
Voice, it just came to me. Doc Savage, I've listened to you for 21 years. I started listening to you in about 97. And the word sheeple, I'd never heard that before. And I'm telling you, since then, I've heard that. I can't count the number of places of people that have used that. Just
They don't even know I originated it. The Savage lexicon of savagisms is an interesting little dictionary unto itself. And I did create sheeple. I know that.
So here's.
You remember when I used to play the sound of sheep going bah, and then I play a crowd behind it? That's sheeple.
I love that. So I started listening to you more intently though after 9/11. I mean, that's when you really caught me. Well,
let me ask you something. You know, in January, I'm changing my whole show. It's only going to be 1 hour long. I don't even know if your station's going to carry it. I don't know if the program director has decided in KLIF to carry the hour. And then I'm going to do a podcast for those of you who lose me. Like in New York, you're going to lose me because of the geniuses in programming. They've decided that Michael Savage needs to leave New York. It has nothing to do with politics, nothing at all whatsoever. Just before the midterm, just before the coming up into the presidential election. So you won't hear me in New York anymore, even though I've been dominant in the New York market for a very long time, for a while on OR, then on WABC, and I dominated the ratings for years. But apparently ratings don't matter anymore. What matters is whether or not you toe the political line. So you're going to have to catch me on a podcast, I think. I don't know in Dallas or Texas, but I'm sorry I'm getting ahead of myself. I shouldn't have made that announcement yet. What's on your mind?
Well, and that's okay because it's kind of like the espresso of Savage, you know. That'll be fine.
What, a podcast with the espresso of Savage? That's funny. That's very funny. The espresso of... Yeah, it'll be like an espresso instead of a weak coffee.
Exactly. So I called because now I've read other books of yours. I've just picked up Stop Mass Hysteria, and I like it. But what struck me when I was reading it is, you know, I listened to this fantastic guitarist, the greatest guitarist I've ever heard, and I listen to him every day, well, whenever I can. And then I realized I would buy his book, and I was like, this guy plays the piano, too. Oh, my gosh. Because what you write is a very different, how do you say it? It's a different delivery than how you speak. And I wouldn't trade either one. It's just that, I was expecting...
Right. Some of my books are almost direct transcripts of my radio show, and they sound like me on the radio. Some of them are written in a different form, which is more expository.
Well, this one has a different sound. This is a different instrument that's being played, and I really love it.
Well, the opening line is pretty much me, which says hatred is in the air, and I don't think that it can be confused with anybody else. I'm glad you enjoyed Stop Mass Hysteria. If only the mainstream media would understand that they, too, will go down in flames unless they stop their madness. Well, what can I say? Thank you for the call, 855-407-282. Moish on WABC, line 6. Thank you for calling while you still can, Moish. What's on your mind?
So first of all, I am an Orthodox Jew. I do listen to your show, and as do many of my friends who are Orthodox Jews. So what I wanted to say is that I disagree with you that, I don't have any survival skills. I'm saying I'm Orthodox Jew. I learn Torah all day. and I have good education. I wanted to know where you got that from.
Okay. Have they taught you how to defend yourself physically?
Physically?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, I myself haven't gone to classes, but I've had a lot of friends who did it after school.
Because I've been trying to advise the religious communities in America to teach self-defense classes in churches and synagogues, owing to the large influx of people who hate Jews and Christians into this country over the 8 years of Obama. They are a growing mass of people, and amongst them perhaps 1% are like that guy, 1% maybe, who jumped out of the car and beat up the old Jewish man screaming, "I hate Jews, I hate Israel," etc., and Allahu Akbar. And even though the percentage is small, the damage is large. And I think that religious Jews and religious Christians need to know how to defend themselves. It's that simple.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that would mean like institute an hour of class time all day of self-defense.
Why? Tell me why not. What's wrong with an hour a day on learning martial art?
I would say spend that extra time on learning a secular subject. I think
well, of course, learn a secular subject. Of course, you have to learn science and mathematics.
I think it's a way. I think it's just have more school security, have more.
No. Then you're passing the buck on to someone else. If everyone in Israel had your attitude, Israel wouldn't have existed since 1947. Why is it that every Israeli learns how to defend themselves and has to go into the IDF? Why?
Because they legit have violence every single day. Every single day, you see.
Oh, well, right now you're living in a dreamland. You're living in paradise. Tomorrow may not be like that.
I hear what you have to say, but I don't think it's nearly as much of a scale as Israel.
Well, it isn't like in Israel yet. No, it isn't. But we haven't seen what tomorrow will bring. I would only caution religious people to not rely strictly upon God for self-defense. Because as we learned in many situations, God isn't there when you need him. You think God's going to defend you when someone comes to beat you up?
Agreed upon, but there's something called you have to do, you have to do an action, but you don't have to make yourself crazy to do it. So having security and patrols around.
All right, that's a good start, but that's still not using your own self for self-defense. That's what self-defense means, is using yourself for self-defense rather than relying upon somebody else, because that someone else may not be there when you need them. That's a caution, but no one's listening to me. When they listen to me when it's too late, they'll say, who was that guy on the radio who was talking about religious Jews should get self-defense classes in the yeshiva? Who was that crazy guy? What is he confusing us? We don't need that. We only need to eat sponge cake. That's all. Eat sponge cake, get diabetes, and God will protect us. All right? Listen, it's crazy to think someone else is going to help you. It's as crazy as thinking by eating garbage food because they stamp a kosher on it, you're not going to get sick from it. Do you understand? That's the same thing. Eating right is like self-defense when you think about it. The greatest form of self-defense that I know of is eating properly and taking the right vitamins. That's the number one self-defense there is. See? So it starts from the in and then it goes from the out. Well, the show is speeding by. No one even knows what I'm talking about. The largest number of people have left the show already because they didn't hear about the genius of the Republican Party and the horrors of the Democrat Party. But I'm telling you again, there's more in life than Dem-Republican, Republican-Dem. Much more in life, and I'll bring more of it to you when I return.
Savage.
You know, I watch these videos every day of violence in America. I'm watching one now. First, I saw the Jewish guy being beaten up by the Muslim, swept under the rug by the left-wing press. Bowling alley beatdown sends one man to the hospital in Roseville, Michigan. A group of youths, so you have to use the word, a group of youths were asked to leave the bowling alley because they were being rowdy and breaking things. So they went and beat up the guy behind the thing, hitting him in the head with a bowling ball, beating him almost to death. Youths, group of youths. So the country we're living in is not the country that you want to live in. And the answer, of course, is law and order. And the cops are not the problem. They are the solution. Okay, it's that simple. Coming up, by the way, at the end of the next break are two of your favorite people on earth, Diamond and Silk. They have a new movie out called Dummycrats, in which I have a cameo appearance. I haven't seen it yet. I remember when they filmed it when I was at KSFO. We'll be speaking with them about 1:34-ish. And, okay. Now, I have two people calling from New York I want to talk to. Ari on WABC, line 8. Go ahead, please. What's your point?
Hi, Dr. Savage. You are spot on that the Jewish community needs to learn to protect itself. We do have an organization here in New York that has been training synagogue and school members, volunteers to protect themselves, learn how to see what's going on around their institution, ask questions of people that don't belong. And
but did you see the video of the Jew beaten up, the old Jewish man beaten up by the Muslim over the weekend? Did you see that in the newspaper?
I did.
Okay, why is that not considered a hate crime?
It absolutely should be a hate crime.
He was screaming, I hate Jews, I hate Israel, I want to kill all of you. That was the original report in the Daily News. And then de Blasio got a hold of it and swept away the hate crime charge. Why is the Jewish community always voting Democrat in New York? What's wrong with them?
I wish I had an answer for you.
What's wrong with them? They know everything about everything, banking, law, medicine. But when it comes to survival, they're suicidal, in plain English.
Savage.
All right, I'm back, finally, after all of that time. Here I am, I'm still here, broadcasting from the most beautiful sixth city on the planet, San Francisco. And right now, stars of stage, screen, and radio, Diamond and Silk. Welcome to the Savage Nation, Ms. Diamond and Ms. Silk.
Oh, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Now, your movie opens tonight, right? What time is it opening and where? Why are we breaking up? I'm getting terrible static here. Hello? I'm sorry, this may not work. We're getting really heavy-duty static. Tell us when Democrats opens and where. I guess that didn't work out. Yeah, they weren't calling from Air Force One. I assume they were not on Air Force One. They were on Diamond and Silk One, which has pretty heavy static. So you want to try that again, Jim? Let's try it again. Diamond and Silk, welcome to the Savage Nation. How are you today?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. Is that better?
Yes. Now, when does your movie open? Tonight and where?
It opens tonight in theaters nationwide. You can get your tickets at democratsthemovie.com. It's playing in about 800 theaters.
Wow.
And so we're so excited about it.
How do you get 800 theaters like that? You never made a movie before. What is Democrats about?
Democrats is about, we know that the president is draining the swamp, so what we're doing is exposing the swamp and exposing the hypocrisy. Right. So it's just about that. It's about going into these different districts. Let's see how these Democrats are running these districts, especially the ones that keep running around talking about we have to impeach 45. So what we're doing, we're giving you the truth with proof. We're giving you the facts, and we're not holding anything back, and we're giving it to you straight from the gate. That's right.
Do you go into Maxine Waters' district to see how she's managing things?
Oh, absolutely, because she don't stay in her district. She stay outside of her district.
Oh.
$1 million.
You mean like Nancy Pelosi and Dan Feinstein never come down from the hill, and the bums are not up there, and the human feces doesn't flow up Pacific Heights. It only seems to be on the bottom down there.
Absolutely. And see, that's probably why you have Nancy Pelosi walking in stilettos. She don't want to step in all that.
Very good. Bong, 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 bong. So what, I know you went around the country to make this movie. Which are the cities that you looked at managed by liberals, or shall I say mismanaged by them?
Well, when we look at San Francisco, I mean, I was taken aback and appalled by that. You know, to see homelessness, to see people drugged out on their minds, to see them defecating in the streets. I've never seen anything like that.
No.
And so we catch a glimpse of that, but we need to expose that. See, long gone are the days where these congressmen and women think that they can work for their own greed and not the need of people.
That's right.
If they don't want to work for us, it's time for us to vote them out. Mm-hmm. But instead of people listening to sound bites, we have to show them proof.
That's right.
And tell the truth.
Yeah, but how can you vote out an entrenched candidate like Dianne Feinstein when the machine does not permit anyone to run against her? They're like Tammany Hall was in New York for 100 years. Nobody could compete with them because they own the voting machines.
Okay, so they own the voting machines. but we own the people's minds.
That's right.
The people own their own minds, and they're going to have to see stuff for themselves, and they're going to have to go to the polls. Listen, I'm not going to believe that they own the voting machines and they can switch our votes, because if they
No, I don't mean that they own the machines in that regard. I mean they own the voters. They flooded San Francisco with illegal aliens. They made it legal to vote in 6 or 7 languages, and you all know that unless you speak English, you don't even know what's going on in the country, right? When you look at the people who do speak English, when half of them don't know what's going on, now imagine someone who speaks Farsi and votes and doesn't know what they're even voting for as long as it has a D next to their name. So let's go into the movie itself. Who are you hoping the movie will reach?
Listen, everybody, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, everybody. I think this is a bipartisan movie, and the reason why is because it gets everybody shaken awake and letting them pay attention to what's really going on, especially from the ones that's walking around here. They don't come to the table for tax cuts. They talk about impeaching our president. They don't come to the table to make life better for Americans. They're only worried about illegal aliens. We need to expose the hypocrisy about that and let people see, and then you can make your decision at the polls in the midterm.
Right.
Now, I understand you filmed me when we were at KSFO. Is that still in the movie? Michael Savage appears a little.
Absolutely. Yes, we did a wonderful interview, a sit-down interview with you. That is still in the movie.
You sure I didn't get cut on the cutting room floor? I didn't get left on the floor?
No, you didn't get left on the floor. As far as we know, no, you are in the movie.
I'm joking. Come on.
You are there.
So let me ask you something. Did you interview people like Maxine Waters? Would she sit down with you or she avoided you, right?
Well, you're going to have to watch the movie because we went looking for her. But I want everybody to watch the movie tonight to see what happened with that.
Were you able to interview Nancy or Diane in San Fran? I'll bet not. I bet they avoided you like the plague.
Well, see, that's the deal. We have a right to expect answers from Congress, period. If they don't want to give us answer about their hypocrisy, about their own greed, then we're going to have to call them out, and we're going to have to call them out on the big screen.
That's right.
Now, let me ask you something. You know, you're African-American women, but you're really an anomaly in your own community because only a small percentage of African-Americans these days vote Republican. Do you see a shifting trend in that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Look at what happened to Kanye the other day when he went up there to sit with the president.
Well, you and I disagree on that. I thought it was a disaster, frankly, I thought he made a disgrace to the Oval Office. He wore his hat. He talked in gibberish. He insulted the president. So you and I disagree on that one.
Okay, well, can we agree to disagree?
Well, we have to because we're still friends. I mean, friends can disagree on that. But aside from the rapper in the White House, in the African-American community in general, is there a movement away from the Democrat machine vote?
Yes, it is. And that's why you see the left-leaning liberals acting crazy, saying the most derogatory, damnable things, calling people black tokens. And when they call Diamond and Silk black tokens, no, we're not black tokens. We're precious gems is what we are.
Oh.
I see people paying attention, and they are moving away from Democratic policies, these liberal policies. Right. They're moving away because, listen, they are more conservative. They don't like the destructions that's going on. They actually like the fact that the president is bringing back jobs. They like the fact that they can pick and choose what job they want. They like the fact that they have more money in their pocket through tax cuts. That's what they like. So they're leaning more right than left.
Now, years ago, before the 60s, before LBJ's Great Society, there were tens of thousands of businesses in the African-American community, small businesses. And then once the government became the father, didn't the businesses dry up? Isn't that what happened?
Well, we can say maybe the businesses dried up. But when you have people with these left-leaning liberal ideologies and these ideas, well, I'm going to give you this. Okay, let's roll back. Obama was president for 8 years. These jobs will never come back. I'm going to give you an Obama phone and a few food stamps. Right. When you have people with those ideas that do not create the atmosphere for economic opportunity, put in all of these restrictions where they make it hard for the average American person, but then an illegal alien can walk over here and it's easy for them. That's what hurts Americans. It hurts America.
Well, there's an old saying, give a man a fishing rod, not a fish. But the Democrats like to give them a fish, not a fishing rod.
Right. We need a fishing rod so we can go and fish. So when I go and fish, I can catch my own fish. I don't need you telling me me how to do it. If you teach me, then I can do it on my own. But if you're giving me fish, all you're going to do is make me fat. That's it. And I'm not going to get it.
Well, Diamond and Silk, it's like you're on the East Coast now, so it's like 20-5 over there. Where's your move? Where are you going to be tonight? Which theater?
I am going to be right here in the Trump International Hotel. We're holding the premiere here because there were theater houses that discriminated against Diamond and Silk and did not want the movie shown here. Apparently, we're not the right type of black.
Oh, wait a minute. You're showing the movie in Trump Tower?
Yes, we're going to have the premiere here. Yes, we are. We have our special guests coming and our...
But do they have a movie theater in there?
They don't have a movie theater in there, but our room, they have it set up like a beautiful movie theater for us. And I actually thank God. They call our president a racist. Mm-hmm. They want to make everything about race, yet they discriminate against Diamond and Silk because we're not black enough. And we're like, well, how black do you want us to be? Cool, can't say black. So I thank God for the Trump International Hotel, and it's going to premiere here.
Now, did the president have anything to do with you getting that venue?
No, absolutely not. We did all of this on our own with the production company. They put all of this together, and I'm so happy for them. Kyle Olson, the producer.
Oh, he's the best. Kyle Olson of the American Mirror. He's with the American Mirror, right?
Yes, he is. He is the best. They put all of this together, and they got it all handled.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you sold out already tonight in New York, right?
Well, I don't know where it's sold out at. I'm just here in D.C., so I don't know, but it's playing in theaters nationwide.
Oh, so you're not in? You're in the Trump International Hotel in D.C. is where you are.
Right. I'm just we're gonna premiere it right here at Trump.
Is the president going to come in and say hello or not?
I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I've been in my room pretty much all day. I stepped out for an interview, and I've been up in my room. So I don't know what's happening downstairs. Everything is going to be premiering at 8 o'clock, and in theaters.
So at the same time it opens in Washington, it's across the country in 800 theaters at the same time.
Absolutely, that's right, at the same time.
And what does Kyle know what time in the movie I appear? Because that's all that matters to me.
I don't know what.
I'm joking. My listeners are going to go just to see me, and I hope you sell it out. I hope you are very successful. You two are beautiful. You're hard workers. You have a great message. And all I can do is wish you the greatest success tonight. Thank you, Diamond and Silk. And the movie is Dummycrats tonight. And where is it? What time does it open tonight?
8 o'clock p.m. in theaters nationwide. Go to dummycratsthemovie.com.
Okay. You hang in there, ladies. I wish you the best. You're the next movie stars in this country. God, do we need them. All right, 855-400-7282, 855-400-SAVAGE. Let's see what's happening in the news here. Anything I missed during that wonderful interview? We talked about the uncivil rights movement in mass hysteria that is going on in this country. We all did not see what happened in Portland, Oregon, because it was blacked out by the wonderful people in the media who give you fake news on a daily basis. They did not show you the communist flags, the Palestinian flags. They did not show you who's underneath those masks. They did not show you them beating people up. No, all the good people in the media swept that under the rug. And that's why we have an uncivil rights movement. I'll be right back.
Savage.
Hey, if you take an atom of nitrogen and you bond it with an atom of oxygen, you create nitric oxide. It's a miracle molecule that your own body makes, which fuels your cardiovascular health, and it also helps keep you vibrant. But as we age, our bodies need help with this important process. Luckily, Super Beets by Human has harnessed the power of nutrient-rich beets to create a superfood that helps your body make more nitric oxide on its own. You see, 1 teaspoonful of Super Beets every day supports your cardiovascular health and blood pressure levels, giving you natural energy with no caffeine kick or sugar high. And we're talking real, healthy, natural energy. Joe from Austin says, Super Beets has helped me stick to my goals of watching what I eat and getting more exercise. I take Super Beets before I work out, and it's a big help with stamina. So call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or SavageLovesBeets.com and find out how you can get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets and free shipping with your first purchase. You heard me right. Free, free, free. Call 800-481-0504 or SavageLovesBeats.com. That is good stuff. Believe me, SavageLovesBeats.com. It is good stuff. It's good for you, and it makes you feel good and gives you strength. All right, let's go back to the calls here on the Savage Nation. We're talking about the political madness then and now. The political madness today is worse than any I've seen. I would say not any, actually. When I think back during the 60s, the riots by the Yippies was worse, but it's going to ramp up. It's going to ramp up again. The hysteria is being whipped up by Bernie Sanders and others. But it's not the first time in American history that this has happened, as I point out in Stop Mass Hysteria, which is a very important book of politics and history combined. Because you should remember that John Adams himself, one of the founding fathers, had to overcome the hysteria of his time and to help see British soldiers acquitted of murder. It was John Adams who stepped in to interfere with that condemnation. You understand what I'm saying to you? Now, the first form of social media, gossip in a village, did you understand that? Now, we say Twitter and Facebook and all of that. That's social media. But gossip in a village was the first form of mass hysteria, and that could rapidly spread in a very small area. But today, with the social media being what it is, the scale is unimagined in human history. And that's why it's so important for you to know your history in order to make sure we do not repeat it. And that is why I wrote Stop Mass Hysteria. And today is the best day for you to go and acquire a copy, because it will count in the first week's tally of bestsellers. And we're up against phenomenal competition amongst liberals. It's that simple. Let's go to the callers. We have about a minute left in this hour. KSFO, Josh, line 1. Go ahead, please.
No way. Savage, listen, I waited so long. I'm not going to ask you how you're doing, by the way. I'll never
Thank you.
Do it.
Okay. Don't ask me how I'm doing, but so what's on your mind?
Yeah, listen, this is my first time calling in any radio station in my life. And I just wanted you to know, I've come from, a really hard background of, being homeless and things like that. And I'm not trying to, choke up.
It's okay. We all get choked up. I'm a very emotional guy. Have you overcome your homelessness?
Yes. Yes. And
how did you do that? What drew you out? What gave you the strength to do that?
Well, actually, it was a crazy check.
The crazy checks helped you get off the street?
Well, that's what you call it. And, I'll be straight up honest with you.
No, I know. North Beach, San Francisco, most of the community runs on SDSI checks in the cafes. They don't work. They sit there and complain about America all day long in the cafes of San Francisco, putting down the country and cashing the checks when they come in at the end of the month so they can buy more marijuana and more coffee. Are you actually working these days?
No, not right now.
Oh, so you're still unemployed?
Yeah.
And so you're still living on crazy checks. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I'd like to sit in a cafe with you and the other crazies and have a glass of wine right now, but instead I have to make a living to provide the taxes so you can have a nice time. That's all. You saw that we pay most of the money in the country. You saw it in the Drudge Report? The top 1,400 taxpayers pay more tax than the bottom 70 million, so you could sit on your behinds and drink marijuana, whatever.
Michael Savage, a host like no other.